It was meant to be one of those easy evenings, the kind that slips by without fanfare. A simple get-together to mark my oldest pal's Big 5-0, surrounded by a handful of folks who'd known each other forever. Neighbors, cousins, a couple bottles of wine flowing loose. Laughter bouncing off the walls of her cozy backyard patio, the grill still smoking faintly from the burgers we'd charred just right. I figured I'd soak it in for a bit. Swap stories about the old days, then head back to my quiet place, where life hummed along in its predictable rhythm. But when I stepped through my front door that night, something shifted. The air felt heavier, charged, like the calm before a storm you didn't see coming. And honestly, if you'd asked me then, I'd have said it was nothing more than the wine buzzing in my veins or the late hour tugging at my eyelids. Turns out it was the start of a ripple that would touch every corner of my world. Hey, by the way, where's this tale finding you tonight? Curled up on a couch in Seattle, maybe, or pacing a kitchen in Austin? I'd love to picture it. Hit me with a note if you feel like sharing. Those little glimpses from you all keep me going. Let me pull you back there with me to that unassuming Saturday. The party's warmth lingered on my skin as I drove home, the scent of charred peppers and sunscreen clinging to my sundress, the echo of toast still ringing in my ears. Stars pricked the sky like scattered confetti, and the radio played some soft indie tune that matched the mellow unwind of the night. My place sat at the edge of a sleepy suburb, all tidy lawns and porch lights flickering on one by one. I parked in the driveway, gravel crunching under my tires, and paused for a second on the stoop, key in hand, breathing in the jasmine from the neighbor's vine. Home. Safe harbor. Inside, though, the silence hit different. Not the usual hush of a house winding down, but something deeper, expectant. The living room lamp glowed low, casting long shadows over the worn leather sofa where throw pillows sagged from disuse. Alex, my boy, freshly 21, with that lanky frame he'd shot up into last summer, had opted out of the party, as he did most outings these days. He'd always been the introspective type, more at home with a book or his sketches than a crowd. I didn't push. Kids grow into their own orbits, right? But tonight, a sliver of light spilled from under his bedroom door down the hall, like an invitation I hadn't expected. I toed off my sandals, padded over in sock feet, and rapped my knuckles softly against the wood. Alex, you up? No answer at first, just the faint scratch of pencil on paper. Then, yeah, come in, Mom. His voice carried that easy lilt, but threaded with something raw, unguarded. I nudged the door open, and there he was, hunched at his drafting table by the window, surrounded by half-finished drawings, swirling abstracts in charcoal and ink, the kind that looked like dreams caught mid-flight. Moonlight filtered through the blinds, silvering the edges of his messy hair, and when he swiveled in his chair to face me, his eyes held mine with an intensity that stopped me short. Hey, stranger, I teased, aiming for light, but my words hung there. He smiled, faint but genuine, the corners crinkling like they used to when he was little and we'd build forts from couch cushions. Hey yourself, how was the bash? Aunt Lila still telling that story about the road trip fiasco? I laughed, leaning against the door jamb, arms crossed to steady the sudden flutter in my chest. Oh, you know she is. Had everyone in stitches. But enough about that. What's got you buried in here on a night like this? He set his pencil down, fingers drumming the table's edge, gaze dropping to the floorboards scuffed from years of pacing teenage angst. A beat passed, heavy as the humid air outside. Just reflecting, I guess. Reflecting. The word landed soft, but it stirred something in me. A quiet alarm, the mother's instinct that never quite sleeps. On what, kiddo? I stepped inside, the room's familiar clutter wrapping around me. Posters of far-off cities peeling at the corners, a stack of dog-eared sci-fi novels teetering on the nightstand, the faint citrus tang of his cologne mixing with graphite dust. Alex exhaled, long and slow, like he'd been holding it in all evening. On us, on you mostly. Me? My pulse ticked up, a warm flush creeping up my neck. I crossed to the edge of his bed, perching on the rumpled quilt, the springs creaking under my weight. Us? What's brewing in that head of yours? He met my eyes then, steady, no deflection. I've been replaying all the ways you've carried everything. For me, for Dad before he left, for the whole damn world, it feels like. Nights you stayed up nursing me through fevers, mornings you packed lunches even when your own coffee went cold. I never said it out loud, but thank you. For all of it. I think I've been coasting, assuming it'd always be there, like air. His words sliced clean, unexpected, pulling the breath from my lungs. I swallowed against the knot rising in my throat, reaching out to squeeze his knee. Alex, honey, that's what moms do. It's not a ledger. It's love. You don't owe me a thing. But he shook his head, fierce now, leaning forward with elbows on his thighs. No, see, that's where you're wrong. It is a ledger, at least in my book. I've been selfish, burying myself in routines, avoiding the hard stuff because I knew you'd catch me. But lately, it's like a fog's lifting. I can't keep drifting like this. I want to be better, not for show, but for real. For me. The room shrank around us, the walls pressing in with the weight of 21 years flashing by in snippets. His first wobbly bike ride down the block. The tear-streaked night his dad drove off for good. The high school graduation where he hugged me too tight, whispering he'd make me proud. Vulnerable Alex was a rarity, like glimpsing a comet. Bright, fleeting, impossible to look away from. Better how? I murmured, voice barely above the hum of the ceiling fan. He raked a hand through his hair, words tumbling out deliberate, measured. I've always felt this pressure, you know? Like I had to fit some mold. The steady son, the one who doesn't rock the boat. But it's exhausting. Tonight, staring at these sketches, it hit me. I'm enough as I am. Messy edges and all. And I need to chase what lights me up, not what keeps the peace. Pride bloomed in my chest, fierce and aching. Mingled with a pang I couldn't name, like watching a bird test its wings. Knowing the sky would claim it soon enough. That's huge, Alex. I'm so damn proud. But he wasn't done. His gaze sharpened, voice dropping to a hush. It's more than that, Mom. I've been clinging to this version of us where I'm still the kid who needs fixing, and you're the one doing all the heavy lifting. But we're past that, aren't we? I see it in you, the way you've poured everything into keeping this ship afloat, sidelining your own dreams. That painting class you dropped? The trips you talked about but never booked? It's time we both let go of the scripts we've been reading from. His honesty cracked something open in me, a fault line I'd ignored for years. I stood pacing to the window where fireflies danced lazy in the yard below, their glow pulsing like tiny heartbeats. The cool glass against my palm grounded me as memories swirled. The canvas I'd abandoned in the garage, caked with dust. The journal of half-formed travel notes tucked in a drawer. You see too much, you know that? I said, turning back, a wry smile tugging my lips despite the sting in my eyes. He chuckled, soft, but his expression stayed earnest. Only because you taught me to look. But seriously, we've both been playing parts. Me, the reliable shadow. You, the unbreakable anchor. What if we rewrite the lines? What if I step up and you get to chase the horizon for once? We sat there as the clock ticked past midnight, words weaving between us like threads pulling a tapestry tight. He shared fragments of his unrest, the job at the bookstore that paid bills but starved his soul, the itch to backpack through the Rockies with nothing but a sketchpad and stars for company. I confessed the quiet erosion of my days, folding into the role of caretaker so seamlessly I'd forgotten the woman who once danced barefoot at midnight concerts, who dreamed of coastal trails and sunsets over unfamiliar seas. Laughter broke through the heavy parts too, reminiscing about the time he borrowed my car for a joyride at 16 and ended up stuck in a ditch, both of us mud-splattered and howling under the tow truck's lights. By the time I kissed his forehead goodnight, grown man that he was, the air felt lighter, charged not with tension but possibility. As I slipped into my own room, the sheets cool against my skin, sleep came slow, my mind replaying his words like a favorite song on repeat. Change wasn't a thief. It was a key, turning in locks I'd long forgotten. The morning sun slanted through my curtains like a gentle nudge, pulling me from dreams tangled with ocean waves and charcoal sketches. Coffee brewed strong in the kitchen, its bitter steam curling up as I stirred in a splash of cream, the ritual a small anchor in the swirl of last night. Alex shuffled in around 9, hair tousled, wearing that faded band tee from his concert phase. Morning, he mumbled, grabbing a mug, but his eyes held a spark, brighter, less shadowed. We moved around each other easy, like always, me slicing fruit for yogurt, him toasting bagels with a pat of butter melting golden. But when we settled at the scarred oak table, scarred from years of family meals and homework wars, the quiet wasn't empty. It thrummed. So, he started, butter knife scraping rye, about last night. I didn't scare you off, did I? I sipped my coffee, the heat blooming in my chest, and shook my head. Scare me? Nah, open my eyes more like, it's funny. I spend all this time worrying you're pulling away, but maybe I've been the one holding too tight. He nodded, chewing thoughtful. Yeah, I get that. Remember when I was 12? That phase where I wanted to be an astronaut? Built that model rocket in the garage, nearly set the workbench on fire? I laughed, the memory sharp as yesterday. The acrid smoke, his wide-eyed panic, my feigned sternness melting into hugs. How could I forget? You were so sure you'd touch the stars. Then life happened. School, breakups, the grind, and poof, dreams on the back burner. Exactly, he said, leaning back, mug cradled in both hands. But what if we dust him off? Not the kid stuff, but the real ones. Mine's still out there. Maybe art school or just traveling light, seeing what sticks. His vulnerability lingered, but so did resolve, a quiet fire kindling. I traced the table's grain with my fingertip, feeling the wood's warmth. And mine? God, Alex, it's been so long since I asked what Elena wants, not what everyone needs from her. That novel I started in the attic, halfway done, gathering cobwebs. Or those pottery wheels I eyed online, imagining clay between my fingers, shaping something from nothing. We talked for hours that morning, the sun climbing high, casting golden pools on the linoleum. Plans weren't hatched, grand or otherwise, just seeds, tentative and green, planted in the fertile soil of honesty. The week unfolded like a slow bloom, each day layering on the last. Mornings, I'd linger over breakfast with him, trading sections of the paper or debating podcasts, his picks on urban legends, mine on mindfulness hikes. Afternoons, while he sketched in the sunroom, I'd unearth that dusty manuscript from the attic stairs. Pages yellowed, but words pulsing with forgotten fire. A story of a wanderer piecing together lost maps of the heart. Fingers flying over keys again, the clack-clack a rhythm syncing with birdsong outside. Evenings brought walks down the winding paths of Willow Park, where willows wept silver fronds into the creek, and we'd toss pebbles, watching ripples spread. See that? He'd say, pointing to a frog plump on a lily pad. Guy's living his best life, no apologies. I'd nudge his shoulder, grinning. Lesson noted, wise one. Not every moment shimmered flawless. Doubts crept in like fog off the creek. Nights I'd lie awake, heart twisting at the thought of him packing a bag for parts unknown. Or mornings when old habits tugged, urging me to smooth his path instead of mine. Once, midweek, tension sparked over something small. Dishes piled in the sink, my frustration bubbling from a long shift at the library. I got it, Mom, go unwind, he said, sleeves rolled, suds to his elbows. But his tone carried an edge, a reminder he wasn't the boy who'd once needed hand-holding through chores. I retreated to the porch swing, rocking gentle as cicadas hummed dusk's lullaby, and let the breeze carry the knot away. Later, he joined me with iced tea sweating beads, and we unpacked it soft. No blame, just bridges. We're figuring this out, he murmured, clinking glasses. Messy, but ours. By Friday, the shift felt woven in, irreversible. I signed up for that pottery class downtown, the instructor's email confirmation pinging like a starting gun. Alex pinned a corkboard above his desk, tacking printouts of hostels in Colorado, train routes snaking through canyons. We celebrated small that night, takeout Thai from the corner spot, spicy noodles tangled on plates, laughter spilling as we recounted the day's wins. To detours, he toasted with his soda, eyes crinkling, and the roads less traveled. I raised my glass, the clink a promise. To becoming Alex, unscripted. As summer deepened, so did the grooves of our new normal. He landed a gig illustrating for a local zine, whimsical portraits that captured souls in strokes of blue and ochre, his confidence blooming like the wildflowers edging our walks. I fired my first vase in class, its curves imperfect but alive, glazed in seafoam that evoked crashing waves. Friends noticed, pulling me aside at coffee runs. Elena, you look radiant. What's the secret? I'd smile, vague. It's the clay, the air, the boy who's teaching me to fly again. But truth hummed beneath. It was us, untethering. Each other's mirrors reflecting growth unforced. One evening, as fireflies lit the yard like living lanterns, we sat on the back steps, bare feet on cool grass. The air thrummed with crickets' chorus, stars wheeling overhead in their ancient dance. Remember that night I came home from Lila's? I asked, voice soft against the twilight. He nodded, shoulder brushing mine. How could I forget? Felt like cracking open a book we'd both been skimming. Yeah, and now? Feels like we're writing the chapters ourselves. He turned, face shadowed but eyes clear. We are, Mom. And damn, it's good. In the quiet that followed, I felt it settle. A peace profound, earned through the raw edges of revelation. Alex wasn't vanishing into the horizon. He was charting it beside me. Our paths diverging yet entwined, like rivers feeding the same sea. I'd lost nothing in the letting go. I'd gained a partner in the dance of becoming. And as the night wrapped us gentle, jasmine-scented, and star-strewn, I knew this was the gift. Not perfection, not stasis, but the brave, beautiful mess of showing up as we were. Ready for whatever dawn brought next. Weeks blurred into a rhythm that felt less like routine and more like breath. Easy, essential. Alex's sketches evolved. Bolder lines tracing cityscapes he'd mapped in dreams. Spired skylines of imagined metropolises, where figures wandered free under perpetual twilight. He'd show me over dinner, plates steaming with stir-fries we'd thrown together from fridge odds, peppers from the market, tofu crisped just so. What do you think? Too chaotic? He'd ask, pencil still smudged on his thumb. I'd lean in, tracing a curve with my finger. Nah, it's alive. Like it's breathing right off the page. Reminds me of that trip we took to the coast when you were 10. The fog rolling in, everything mysterious and sharp. His grin would flash, quick as summer lightning. God, that fog. I thought we'd never find the lighthouse. You kept humming that old sea shanty to guide us home. We'd dissolve into chuckles, the memory a bridge spanning years. Those talks stretched late sometimes, veering into territories we'd skirted before. His quiet fears of failing at the art he craved, the echo of his father's absence like a shadow at holidays. I used to think it was my fault, you know? Like if I'd been better, he'd have stayed. His admission hung soft, and I'd cover his hand with mine, steady. Oh, Alex, it was never you. Some folks just can't weather their own storms. But look at us, building our own lighthouse, beam by beam. My own unspooling gathered speed, too. The pottery wheel became sanctuary, clay yielding under palms slick with slip, each piece a testament to surrender. Bowls wide as harvest moons, mugs etched with waves that mimicked the pulse in my veins. Classmates, a retired teacher with laugh lines deep as canyons, a tattooed barista chasing whims, became sparks, their stories traded over cooling kilns. You're a natural, the instructor told me one dusk, as steam rose from fresh glazes. There's fire in your hands. I carried that home, firing it like kindling, and one night, I pulled out the guitar from the closet's depths, strings dusty, frets familiar as old friends. Alex found me in the living room, fingers fumbling chords to a folk tune I'd loved in my 20s, voice rusty but rising. Play it again, he said, sinking onto the rug, chin on knees. So I did, the melody weaving through lamplight, pulling harmonies from him, his baritone low, tentative at first, then sure. We sang of open roads and mended hearts, the notes filling corners long dim. Afterward, silence sweet as the last chord faded. You've got a voice like roots, he murmured. Deep, grounding. I ruffled his hair, absurdly maternal still. And you've got wings, kid. Don't forget to use them. Challenges dotted the path, of course. Life's way of testing soil. A rejection email for his zine submission landed like a stone in still water, ripples of doubt clouding his eyes over breakfast. Maybe I'm fooling myself, he muttered, cereal spoon clinking listless. I slid into the chair beside him, arm around shoulders broad as his father's once were. Or maybe it's just one page turning. Remember my first story query? Crumpled it so hard it could have started a fire. But I sent another. And another, he exhaled, nodding slow. Yeah, fuel for the next one. By evening, he was at his table again, lines fiercer, reclaiming the page. My stumbles came softer, insidious, a call from an old colleague offering extra shifts at the library, the easy pull of familiar duty. We could use you, Elena. Steady hand like yours. Temptation tugged, the comfort of known shelves over the risk of raw clay. I paced the kitchen that night, phone warm in my palm, until Alex wandered in for water. Everything okay? His read of me was uncanny now, attuned. I set the device down, honest. Old habits whispering. Part of me wants to say yes, fill the gaps. He poured a glass, thoughtful. And the other part? Wants to say no. To make space for this. I gestured vague, the wheel, the words, the US. He smiled, handing me the drink. Then listened to her. She's got stories worth telling.